Oh my goodness, hello, my loves. I miss you every time. It's like I come back on this podcast and I'm like, holy freaking pickles, what have you guys been doing? What's new? What's good? All things in between. I'm so excited for you to land here today because we're going to be talking about something that I have been processing as we're coming up to the end of the year is how the heck did I finally start making money? I feel like for 3 years, I was just chasing my tail. I couldn't really make more than like $3,000 to $4,000 a month. I couldn't figure out why that was happening. And I just felt really trapped. And so I want to walk you through how I made $170,000 so far this year in the last 10 months and how you guys can do the same thing. It's 5 key areas that I focused on that you may be looking at, but you might also be missing a few key points on this. And so if you are new to this podcast, what the heck is up? My name is Laura Patricia Martin. I started this podcast off the back end of a breakup that really, really shattered me. And I couldn't figure out how to balance this like feminine side of me that I knew attracted and was meant to attract this love of my life and to be able to maintain this. Like I swung so far to that side that I lost the savage side of myself and I lost this really big vision. You know, I was gifted some deep, deep trauma in my 20s. And I truly don't think that was by mistake. And I'm here to serve. I'm here to learn. I'm here to really, really, really reprogram the generational trauma that has happened in my family dynamics on both sides of my family. And I couldn't quite figure out how to balance between serving and doing what I know God put me on this planet to do and being a future wife and a mother. Like I didn't know how to trust that process because truthfully, I became a high performer. I became a high achiever because of my trauma. I, built my success because I was so afraid of someone finding out these like deep, deep wounds inside of me. So I threw myself into work and I put a lot of validation in my external circumstances. And then when it came to love, because of my trauma and because of these protectors I had built up, I had no idea how to actually soften. Like I knew how to fake it. I knew how to do the things these people said on the internet to do, but I didn't actually know how to release all the trauma from my body so I could be soft and still run a company and really balance between these two. Hence the podcast Soft Savage, which we recently rebranded. And so this is what we do. We talk about the relational side of things and we talk about the branding, the marketing, the business side of things to be that soft savage in this movement called the pre-housewife era. So you can set yourself up for success to attract your high value man and still have time for him by creating systems and automation and funnels and things like that. So we talk about the wide spectrum of a high performing woman and I'm so excited that you're here. If you're interested in learning more, my Instagram is it's Laura Patricia Martin. So @ITS Laura Patricia Martin. And it means the world to me if you subscribe to this and write us a review. Because I'm really working to get this to the top 1% and give you guys the most amount of value. And so I want to just dive right in and talk more about this whole journey, these 5 areas. And I've been sitting here. I'm at my friend's house right now filming this and it's not my normal studio setup, but we're making it work and my laptop might fall off my thing. And I've been sitting here noodling on what did I focus on this last year that is different? And truthfully, nothing was different. Nothing. But I was way more intentional. And that's number 1. Being very, very intentional about what I was doing. I was someone that I had a to-do list and I just always piled more and more and more onto it because it made me feel better. It made me feel more like a high achiever. It made me feel more worthy. It made me feel like I was deserving of this, like this busy badge that I put on me. I'm just like, oh, I'm so busy. I have no time for these. Like that means I'm successful because I'm so busy. Not realizing the higher you go, the less quote unquote busy you are. The more you have systems in place, the more you have team, the more you have stuff. And so I was busy and I was stressed because I didn't know what to focus on. I didn't know what my zone of genius was. I didn't know what to do really. And I think a lot of us do this. Like we come into this business world, we come into this entrepreneurial space, and because there's so freaking much to do, we try to focus on all of them at once. And that's what I was doing my first 3 years in the online space because I had a very successful business offline for 6 years. And then I transitioned online and I was like, I don't get any of this stuff. Funnels, click funnels, ads, like all this stuff. I'm like, I'm just losing all this money. I don't understand what I'm doing. And it just felt like there was so much. And instead of just taking bite-sized pieces, I just dove all in. I spent so much money trying to learn from the best of the best. And I'm just like floundering, trying all these different things. And I wasn't being consistent with who I was listening to or how I was listening to them. And I was just trying to consume so many people's knowledge that were ahead of me versus I'm going to be intentional with one mentor. I'm going to be intentional with one mentor's methods. I have 3 mentors, but I'm going to be intentional with one mentor's methods. And to be honest, they all kind of have learned from each other in a scope of thing, and they're all teaching me one main thing, which is really understanding my niche and how to communicate and articulate and copyright for that version, and then create funnels around that, because that's my area of expertise, and that's what I want to get better at. Instead of going, oh, I also have to be the best at this, the best at this, the best at this, the best at this, having very split energy, I was like, no, I just want to become very intentional with one thing. I want to become very intentional with automation and funnels, right? Because that ultimately gave me the time freedom and things. But more than that, I wanted to become known for in the beginning half of the year relationship, right? Like that was the thing that I really, really dove head first in and dating and men, right? Like that was the season I was in. That was what I was personally doing. That's what I specialized in. I studied under the best of the best. So I really threw myself into that. And alternatively, the thing that I had to really learn is how to market that, how to sell that, how to do the thing. Because it didn't matter how good I was at my craft. And I think a lot of us need to understand this. It doesn't matter how good you are at somatics or feminine energy or dating or health or what have you. If you can't sell it in a way that specifically speaks to your clients and speaks to the tangible outcome they're going to desire, no one's going to buy. No one buys your methods. No one buys how good you are. Like if you're in that space of like, oh, if they just were in my presence, and this is what I felt for so long, is like, if you were just in my presence, you will buy. Like, oh my God, it's so extraordinary. You don't even understand. Like my programs, my things, like it's mind blowing what it's done for me. So here, buy it. And like, people don't buy that. They buy what they need. They buy, yes, your energy behind it and things like that, but they buy the desire that you're going to get them to. And if you can't articulate that and figure out how to sell it, it doesn't matter. And so I went on this whole journey of, I knew I was good at this whole thing, but I became very intentional of learning the marketing behind that. And so in that process of becoming very intentional with my marketing around dating and my program called Alchemy of Love that just went through the roof, people one day just went like, hey, I see how you're marketing this. I have a very healthy relationship. Do you actually do coaching for marketing and branding? And I was like, not really, but sure. Like God's gifting me this opportunity. I have dedicated a lot of my time to this. So sure, I'm going to be very intentional about this now. And I'm going to use my marketing and branding skills to market this, which is now what you guys see me talk a lot about is marketing, branding, funnels, the things that I learned on the back end, and just articulating that in a very particular way to help you get results, right? And that's what I really focused in on. And I became very intentional about these things around content, around communication, around strategy. So sales, messaging, systems, right? Like that is what I got really, 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 really good at in the dating department, and then also in the marketing department. And I became very intentional about that versus like, oh, I have to do all this stuff on top of clean my house, on top of do all these other things outside of my life. I have to do all these kind of, like, I'm running around, I'm trying to run the rat race on top of all this kind of stuff, on top of no, I hired people that could do things better than me. I outsourced things even when I didn't have money because I really needed to focus on my core areas. And so what you need to do is really look at this is, where can you be more intentional? Where are you having split energy? Where are you actually sitting here being like, I'm trying to do all things, so I have this endless to-do list, so I'm actually not giving all of my energy to one core thing. That is the reason you don't have success yet, because you're trying to be a master at all things versus being like, what am I going to be a master at in one thing? That's how you're going to get to where you want to go. Like, we're all in this space of like, oh, I have to have multiple streams of income, and this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pull everything that comes to me, and I'm going to have kind of this golden retriever energy of pulling every opportunity that comes to me. But the truth is, the people that are most successful in this planet got successful off of one core thing. They became a genius in one core area, and they marketed the shit out of that. And then after that built out, then they added other streams, right? Then they probably got into real estate. Then they probably did some investing here. Then they probably did some things here. Then they did some stuff there, and they built it out from there. But there was one core thing that you focus on that then builds the other revenue generating machines. Okay. So stop focusing on, oh, I need to have all these many streams of incomes, and I need to be the jack of all trades, and I need to do all these things. The split energy is the reason why you haven't had success yet. Become really good at one thing. And the truth is, the reason that I didn't feel I wanted to focus on one thing is truly, if I look at it, is because I wanted to prevent myself from feeling like a failure. Because if I felt like I was going all in on one thing and it didn't work, holy pickles, I would be so crushed, right? Like, biggest feminine wound is disappointment. I would be so disappointed if that didn't work. But when I really looked at it, I found that I was just disappointing myself because I wasn't actually going all in on things, and I knew it. There was a fire inside of me that was meant for something, but this block of what if I go all in and I'm a failure and people judge me and it doesn't work out or what have you. But the truth is I was already failing because I wasn't being intentional with my energy. I wasn't being intentional in going all in on my projects. I was just doing all of this split energy, all of these different things, not consistently staying with launches, not consistently staying with one program, not consistently staying with one funnel, not consistently. I just had all these ideas I was trying to pull from, like trauma this, trauma that, like pulling all these things in, confusing myself and my audience because yes, I have these ideas. Yes, I have these passions. Yes, I have these things. But because I didn't focus on one stream yet to really, really nail that and have consistency in that and understand what it feels like to really sell something through the finish line and see and study my audience and understand the psychology of my people and my own psychology of getting through the finish line, I didn't get it. And so I had to really work through this block of like, I don't want to fail. Therefore, I'm going to have split energy so that maybe something will work, something will catch me. And it's like, no, have very dialed in focus for one thing for like half a year and watch your life turn around. That's what I did. I focused on dating and the side of that for 6 months. And now I'm focusing on the branding side. And that's like, it's all in on these things. It's all energy. It's all sourced. It's all planned. It's all intentional. And so really look at where you're trying to prevent yourself from failure and actually sabotaging yourself and likely already disappointing yourself because you know you're not going all in because you're not actually being as intentional as you know you should be, whether that's with your content, your marketing strategy, your media, things like that, whether that's with your networking, whether that's in your relationships, whether that's in your health, whether that's in your like side of actually studying the skill set needed to advance your career. Like look at where you actually, dancing around the side of the pool versus like jumping all in and being like, fuck it, I'm all in. That's really what the turning point was for me because I looked like for so long like I was doing it all because I was good at putting on a show. But the energy behind it, the knowing that I was all in, like really, really the sacrifices, the responsibility, like I assumed all roles for that version because I was like, I'm in for this leadership. I'm in for this thing. Show me the way. I'm here. I surrender. So that was 1. 2, community. I really started to focus on this year. Who am I around? This is something I've always been very dedicated in, but like something when I moved to Florida, I was like, I only want to be around entrepreneurs. I only want to be around people that are really dedicated to their health, and I really only want to be around people with healthy relationships. And so I'm very, very selective of my energy to the point that some people might think I'm a bitch, and I'm okay with that. Because who I'm around affects how big I think I can go, what conversations I'm having, how safe I feel, how excited I am, how big my thoughts are, like what I really can see is achievable because they're achieving greatness. Like I realized in my life, I was such a leader in my relationships and I loved that role. It didn't challenge me. It didn't put me out of my comfort zone. Like it made me feel like a queen, like all these things, but I realized I was stuck. Like people weren't pushing me. And I realized the bigger rooms that I got in, the more challenged I felt, the more insecure I felt, the more quiet I felt. Like, how do I translate the power that I feel inside my soul in front of these people that are so freaking powerful? And I needed to put myself in more rooms like that. And so I really, really started to invest in different masterminds. I really started to invest in different communities, being active in them, showing up for them, networking, doing the things, being very intentional with who my close circle is as well, because it's not always like what you can give me, but it is the conversations I'm going to be having. Even when it came to my partner, I needed to know who am I laying down next to at night because I have such big visions for my life and I have such big goals and I know what I'm doing before motherhood, like what I want to set myself up for. And I need someone that's going to match me in that. I need someone that's going to push me beyond that. And that's exactly who my partner is. Like he does not let me go below what he knows my standard is for my life, and he pushes me in that way. And it's same with my friends, where it's just like, go bigger. Hey, I'm seeing you do this. Like they call you out, they call you forward. And that's definitely something that I did in this last year, is just being very, very intentional to the point that, everyone around me is healthy. Everyone around me is an entrepreneur. Everyone around me is sober. Like everyone around me is in healthy relationships. This is who I want to be around. So I got very, very selective and very comfortable being alone, because you're going to be alone for a little bit in that process. A lot of us, we have our old relationships, our old friendships, and it's not to say we have to cut them out or shame them or any of that, but it's being very intentional with, who do you want to become? And is that in line with is that in alignment with who you're becoming? Just being okay with that. Like, you can love them from a distance. It's okay. Like, it's one of the most beautiful things about the human mind. Like, it's just in the human freedom where it's just like, I can love you from a distance. I can see you less frequently. Like, I love you so much. I can have my human friends. I can have my business friends. I can have my networking friends. I can have my mentors. Like, you get to have an eclectic group of people, but who is close to you is really, really important, and being very intentional about that, because sometimes who got you to where you are is not going to get you to where you want to go. And sometimes when you start to rise, actually what I've seen a lot is when I start to rise and really claim like, hey, I'm ready for bigger and better things, and I'm ready for, not even better, just I'm ready for bigger things. Like, I'm ready to be pushed to my next level. When I start to rise and start to network with new communities, new things, like I'm in this season right now, new areas of life, because I know something big is coming, and I need to be uncomfortable in order to do that, my friends rise with me. It's really, really cool. Like, in different areas, we all are rising at different speeds, different arenas, different things. And so it's really cool to see how we all do that. We're all pushing each other in different arenas. Some of us are leaning towards God. Some of us are leaning towards relationships. Some of us are leaning towards, business. And so it's this fun little dance that we start to do where we're pushing each other to rise because we're rising. Right? So that's number 2, is really, really focusing on who are you around, and are you being as intentional as you can about it, or are you being a little pipsqueak because your ego is hurt and you want to protect it, right? Like, I want to be in rooms where I feel quiet. Like, it's so funny. A lot of people come up to me and they're like, kind of shy. Like, and it's something I want to fix, right? I used to be this like networking queen, and I'm really good at one-on-one interactions. Like, that is my jam. And like, I am through and through a podcaster, and I love the online space. I'm really powerful here. Like, I love the digital world. And I realized, because I've been so hard in the digital world, that my networking skills aren't as sexy as they used to be. So I asked my friend, being like, hey, you are a networking queen. How can you help me amplify this and move forward in this? And so we're out in the world, and it's really funny just to witness my energy of just like, oh, I feel like a little chicken nugget. Ooh, this is fun. How more of this can I go? Or how much more of this can I do so that I can actually expand my nervous system so I get more comfortable in this arena? Like, I don't want to protect my smallness. I want to claim my bigness. I want to show up in the version of me, and I might wobble a little bit. I might, be a little bit more quiet. People will likely think I'm younger than I am because of my shyness and my quietness. But just like, recently I went to this invite dinner. And, they see I have something to say, and the woman next to me, and she's like encouraging me. She's like, she's like getting me to speak, and she's inviting me forward. And it's a beautiful thing. Like, sure, maybe I was quiet then, but like, I feel more comfortable, and I'm warming up, and I'm stretching this muscle, and I don't want to stay the same version of me that I am right now. So let me see how big I can go and put myself in the arenas and feel okay not knowing. I think that's what a lot of us don't do, because especially when it comes to community, is like, oh, everyone's friends, or they know each other, or what have you. Like, and this insecurity comes up where it's like everyone in that room likely feels insecure at some point, and it's our job to just walk through that, right? Like, that's where you get to show your leadership, is push through that. Be the woman that's like, no matter what, I'm stepping into it. I'm creating this community. I'm showing up. I'm being annoying in Facebook groups. I'm showing up consistently. I'm asking people on coffee dates. I'm trying to be consistent and show up in my power, so that you can ultimately become that version of yourself, because you're not meant to walk this path alone. That's why I create such deep community in my spaces. That's why my masterminds, my memberships, like, everything is community based. That's why my big shift in our brand is more group containers, memberships, because I want you to have these types of people. My best friend I met through a mastermind, right? It's these types of containers, because you're not meant to just walk through this alone. You can't rise to your highest capabilities if you're trying to do this alone on the back burner. What I found is so many women try to do this alone because they don't want their friends to know if they fail, or they don't want to know, like, hey, I'm not going as fast as the other people. But the truth is, when you're in containers that are group containers, or group settings, or group community events, or things like that, and people are going past you, it's a 4-minute mile. Someone did a 4-minute mile, so you're like, holy shit, now I can do that too. And so it's doing, sure, I get it. Like, sometimes you don't want to stretch, like you need a nap. But most of the time, it's like your soul actually needs these things, especially as a high-performing woman. You need to be stretched. You need to put yourself in these containers, these situations that make you feel really uncomfortable until it feels comfortable, so that you can actually rise to your highest capabilities, right? So first one is intentional. Second one is paying attention to community. Third one is building a powerful personal brand. You guys, I will not shut up about this. This is something in this last year I really, really focused on, because I looked at my branding and it just didn't portray the power. It didn't. It was me being cute. It was me, just even the energy. Like, sure, the photo shoots, they were cute, they were whatever. They were great outfits, but it wasn't powerful. It wasn't me. It wasn't this like authority. And I was just doing what everyone else was doing versus really understanding what is my unique value proposition, right? I talk about this inside of Boulder Branding, our program that is inside of Boulder Branding Academy, and talking about how to pull out your uniqueness instead of being what everyone else was doing and doing the viral content and doing the things. Although there's a part of that, right? Like, there's growth content that's very important. My brand is this like daddy energy. My brand is this sexual energy. My brand is power, right? Authority, conviction. It's in the way that I speak. It's in the way that I dress. It's the way that I act. It's what my energy is. And I feel that within myself. But in my brand, it was just, I wanted to be liked. I was using these bright colors. I was using like all of these things that just really, I was figuring it out. I will say, like, this is just a stage. I call it the golden retriever vibe, where it's like, you can tell you're onto something, but like, I'm not feeling the power from you. I don't feel like you're a leader. You're kind of just in this space and I'm not quite sure what you're doing. Like, you're pulling all this stuff, but I'm not quite sure. But when you actually get to the creative director side of your business, understanding that marketing is the most important thing for your business, which means your branding needs to be a key focus for things, so that your audience, as you like, if you think about it, what I started to study is luxury brands and how they present themselves, and also like sports teams and like things like that, because I was looking at in the market like what stops the scroll, what really gets me to want to do things. And it was really just there was an energy to certain brands. It was like this authority. It was the way they presented themselves. It was the way that they stood. It's the way that they speak. Like, I always took like certain basketball teams more seriously, that were dressed a lot nicer versus the ones that weren't, and the ones that took care of themselves versus the one that weren't. And you could always just tell the difference of this. And it's just like, what has this authority? Same thing with luxury brands, watching their advertisements versus like things like Target or things like Walmart. Like, it just didn't hit right. I wanted to be a luxury brand, which means I had to become a luxury representative of that. And so I had to work on creating a powerful personal brand, online, offline. And so it's the photo shoots is the thing, but it really wasn't that. It was the energy, it was the conviction, it was the way that I show up, it was the way I could pull my uniqueness out of it, the way that I did cinematic videos and my storytelling and the way that I show up online, even things like this, like front to camera, like letting you guys see my personality, the conviction that I feel about my work, the things like that versus, just viral scripts. Like, those are nice, but the thing that actually converts is this stuff for my personal brand, and figuring out how can I portray my power powerfully and my authority powerfully. And that was showing up consistently every single day. That was figuring out, like, post for 365 days. There's no way that you can't find your conviction, your power, your personal brand, your voice. But so many of us are waiting for someone to pull that out of us, waiting for someone to invite us to the table, waiting till we have some type of milestone. Like, the reason I made 170K is simply because I started to show up like that version online before I ever had evidence, before I ever even had clients. Like, I just started to show up in that energy, and that is what attracted ultimately the types of clients I wanted to work with. But a lot of us are waiting and outsourcing external power for someone to tell us, oh, now you have power, now I want to work with you. No, people of power are looking for power. Power meets power. If I feel like I can walk all over you and I could feel that from your brand, and I feel like it's a little immature, I'm not going to work with you. I need someone that's powerful. I need someone that can hold my power, right? Someone that's super convicted, that knows their words, that has their catchy punchlines, that speaks the way that they want to speak, that speaks with conviction, that speaks with authority, that stands with authority, that has their own weird phrases, has their unique ways of seeing the world and the branding, right? Like, that's how my pre-housewife era came about. It's just like, this is how I see it. Like, I'm seeing all of this relationship stuff out there and I don't agree with it necessarily. Like, you can't be alpha, fuck that. Yes, I can. Or like stuff with branding, like all this stuff, like it's missing this mark. It's like this copy and paste model and this stuff that is not unique to pulling out your genius and having to be a certain way. It's like, no. You can't, you have to have your unique way, and you have to stand in conviction for your unique way for people that are powerful to want to work with you. And so I focused so much on this, and I just put myself, again, I stretched myself. I focused on showing up consistently. I focused on really nailing my copywriting, my marketing, my strategy, my messaging, my sales, to pull people's energy that I really wanted to work with. And my energy became a match for these people. And so you need to do those things, right? So focus on your personal brand. And if that is something you're working on, that is where Boulder Branding Academy comes in. If you haven't checked this out yet, this 12 months of me walking you through all of this, whether it's your branding, your copywriting, your marketing, all the kind of things, storytelling, automation, funnels, back end stuff, like all the things that really give you this sense of authority, which is front end, back end things, making sure that you feel like the strongest sales system, and all things in between. That's what Boulder Branding is. For 12 months, we come in. We work together inside of this incredible group. Like it's home on the planet. Okay. Fourth thing is high impact sales system. So we have 1, being more intentional. 2, community and who you're around. 3, powerful person or brand. 4, high impact sales systems and automation. And so something that helped me make 170K so far this year, and something that I'm dialing in even more, is making sure my sales system attracted 1, high-level clients, and 2, was automated. A big thing for me is I want to be a very present wife and mother. This is why I built my entire back end prior to even having a kickoff in my business. While I was selling and doing things on the front end and hustling my ass off, to be completely honest, I was focusing on my back end in funnels, and something I'm continually refining and adding in, and looking at my sales system and looking how all my programs go together, and looking at, landing wires, tripwires, things like that, or landing pages, tripwires, email sequences, things like that, so that I can actually have the time freedom. And I knew this was going to become helpful. And I really, really utilized my single season in that process, because I knew when I'm in a relationship, I want to be in relationship, especially early stage dating, when this is like that time when you guys are in a love bubble and you want to spend all your time together and you're slightly codependent, and it's great. And I knew I wanted that. And so I focused on these key areas of building my sales, my automation, to hold me through motherhood, but also through the early stage dating process, through, my life, through hurricane evacuations, through all this stuff. And so I continually am dialing this in, but this is something that I set up. So when my content started to go viral and I started to get more eyes on my brand, because it's inevitable that that's eventually going to happen, the more that you're playing with content and looking at strategy and not just posting to post, but actually having a system in place, which is so key, guys. It's so key. It's inevitable that things are going to pop off and a bunch of clients are going to come flooding your DMs eventually. But a lot of the times we block ourselves from having that success because we don't have systems in place, because ultimately you came into becoming an entrepreneur for freedom. But if you think, hey, if I have more clients and I am my sales system and I have to answer my DMs all the freaking time, and if I do that, then I'm going to miss a sale, then blah, 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 you're actually going to self-sabotage and upper limit, and you're not going to have full energy behind your offers and your sales systems, because ultimately that would take away from your freedom, whether you admit it or not. That's on a subconscious level. And so I started to understand these things, and I was like, okay, how can I start to understand sales? How can I uncomplicate this process that so many people seem to overcomplicate and masculinize and do the kind of things that I deemed as like, oh, this is going to lose the heartbeat. This is going to be too broy. This is going to be too markety. This is going to do X, Y, Z. It's going to be all these different things, versus how can I still have a heartbeat to my funnels? How can I still call in high ticket clients that are a dream to work with versus anyone? How can I make sure that this isn't broy? Like, I have a lot of fun with this, that my personality isn't. And I created a funnel system and high ticket converting funnels from this. And so really adding my heartbeat to it, really adding these things so that I can fully focus on my life. And alas, it worked. 170K later, the love of my life, the most extraordinary time freedom ever. Like, I thought I would be more busy and I'm less. And just really, really focusing on these things helped give that. And so what you need to do is really look at, what is your long-term vision? If right now you are your sales system where you have to show up every day, you have to post, you have to DM and do the things and cold leads and be on these calls all day and do all this kind of stuff, is that really conducive for the future that you want? Yes, there's a season. Like I said, I utilize the fuck out of my single season, because I knew when I was in a relationship, a certain season was going to come. So for 4 months, I did just focus on that. I did just focus on, how am I going to build this out? Are my programs in place? How's my copywriting? How's my messaging? How's my sales? Like, that's very, very important. And I'm not going to lie, it does take time. But there comes a point where, like, is that what you're, like, I knew it was just a time. I knew, like, that's what I tell my ladies inside of Boulder Branding Academy. There's just a clunk of time, give it 6 months, that you're going to be focusing on this. And it's going to be a lot, and you're going to feel like I'm spraying a water hose down your face, but it's for the long-term vision. But if you don't have that long-term vision, you don't actually have things in place that are going to give you that time freedom, and you're like, oh, eventually it's going to clear out, but you're not really doing anything different in order to make it so that things can clear off your schedule, and that you can get rid of one-to-one models and actually have one-to-many models and systemize your structures and put things in place and delegate so that you can actually be the present wife and mother that you ultimately want to be, then you are your sales system, and it's actually not feminine. No matter what you're saying around your energy stuff, like it's not that feminine. Sales, automation, things like that, or automation funnels, things like that is the most feminine thing about your business. And so if you can start to focus on these things to right now to ultimately give you the time freedom and get over that block of like, oh, it's broy, or I'm going to lose the heartbeat of my business, or it's too much work, I don't understand tech, or like this just takes away from my business. It's like maybe for a second, but long-term vision, this is going to give you that conversion, and doing it in a certain way can give you high converting leads. So you're not going to lose, and have to work with people like strangers on the internet. It's going to be the most heartfelt people because your messaging is going to be so dialed in. The conversion, the way that you do it, the way that I've done it, it's going to bring in the most soul-aligned people. And so I focused on that, and that ultimately is like the foundation. It's like branding plus the funnels. That's really it. And then the last one is mindset and energy. So we have 1, being more intentional. 2, community. 3, powerful personal brand. 4, funnels and high impact systems. 5, mindset and energy. I think that is so important is funnels are funnels, system or system, sales or sales. I can give you all the scripts. Same thing with dating. I can give you all the scripts. I remember one of my first calls on Alchemy of Love, they asked me what do I say in this text? And I'm like, it's not scripts for me, and what I say works because of who I am. My systems work because of who I am. This is what's so important. Who you are is more important than how you do it. It's not to say that systems and funnels are not important. Like I said, they are the bread and butter of my business, but it's because of my energy here that converts you guys, right? It's because of my energy, my long form content, my short term content on my social media, on my calls, at my networking events, in my real life. That is the thing that actually converts. My back end, my systems, my things, that is just a front, that is just a thing that helps to funnel people in. But my energy, ultimately knowing, if you think about it, when you are in the highest version of your life, you're flirting with a new man, you're feeling banging in your body, you feel turned on by life, you're ovulating, all these things, what happens? Everything flows to you so easily. And so it's your job, yes, have the systems, yes, have the thing, but it's your job to put yourself in that state, right? I just in last episode where it was when you're going through a hard time, how do you get back in the zone? How do you show up? All the things. Your joy is your job, as Stephen Furtick says. And so it's your job to show up in a magnetic state. It's your job to find your way back. It's not to say that you can't have lumps and seasons and things like that. You guys know I've shared that is something that I'm navigating and had been navigating for a while, but it's my job, right? It is always my job to know that I'm a leader. It is not contingent, and I don't need to be validated by you guys. I don't need to be validated by my sales. I don't need to be validated by anything. I know regardless, even if sales are slow, it is my power that attracts you guys. So I have to show up every single day with conviction and power, regardless of the money. Right? A lot of you are waiting for the invitation for the money to be in your bank account, to have the first big 10K, 12K, 15K sale, to then be like, I am the leader that I knew I always was. It's like, no, I had to start feeling this way before I ever had results. When I was donating plasma, when I was going through a breakup, when I was driving DoorDash, when I was putting everything on credit cards because I had no idea how to freaking pay my bills. I put my rent on credit cards, figuring out certain ways because I had no idea what to do, but I knew I was going to find a way. But you guys would have no idea that is what I was doing just over a year ago. You would have no idea. That's how my life was. Because I kept showing up with conviction because I knew I didn't need to be validated by you guys. I don't need to be validated by you guys. I don't need my bank account. I'm going to show up like there is 100,000 people needing my work. Even if it's just one, because the power of one is so freaking tremendous, and so many of us lose that on this journey. The power of one will change your life. So all you have to do is focus on the one thing that you have to do. How do you get your energy in alignment? How do you truly believe in your mission, your movement, your thing? I can't tell you, pre-housewife era is my blood. It is my breath. It is my body. It is my everything. I am so convicted in this movement. Because to liberate a woman, to be able to have your own income so you can love freely because you were traumatized from the divorce culture and the things like that, to actually free yourself from this so that you can show up convicted in your power and have the time freedom and not just quote unquote be a housewife, but to have your sales systems in process so you can still make income and impact your family. Oh my God, the freedom to love, the freedom to just be yourself versus like, oh, I'm stuck here. Like that's going to trap your energy. The freedom flow of femininity is safety. So how can you set up these masculine containers that I know, love, and preach about to then have the freedom to love like that? It would be such a disservice if I didn't show up in that. And so I know I'm the woman to lead that. I am the one. I know there's so many fucking humans on the planet. There's billions of people, but they don't have my unique energy. And I had to get convicted behind that even on days when I wobbled, to sit there when I was going through breakups, when people rejected me, when, my family stuff was going on, when all of these things were happening. It was my job to sit here and be like, I am the one. I'm the one. God chose me. I didn't go through all of the things in my life to give up or to play victim. I'm allowed to have my wobbles. I'm allowed to have my seasons, but he chose me. I'm going to rise to that occasion. I'm going to do my job. I am here to serve him on this mission. So are you. And so when you're on this path of like, okay, I'm stuck at a cap, right? Like, I don't know. I've been feeling this, guys, right? Like, I just feel like stretching myself to the next freaking limit. And so what needs to happen? I want to double my income by the end of the year. Okay, what needs to happen? I need to shift my mindset around that. I am the one. I need to show up in conviction around that. I need to get my energy in alignment. I need to do the things. I need to focus on my health. I need to, help with my relationship. I need to help with my friendships. I need to focus on these things. I need to revisit these 5 steps to 10x it again. That is exactly what I'm doing. These are the things I told you guys. I'm going to double my income by the end of the year. I'm focusing on these 5 things. Exactly. So even if you haven't started yet, even if you're in the middle, even if you're like, I know I'm making good money, but like, sounds dope to double my income too. These are the things you have to focus on. Who you're around, how intentional you're being, your systems and your sales processes, the automation, things like that, your branding and your energy. And so I love you so much. I love you so much. This has been the wildest year of my life to like actually be safe, to actually be free, to actually, I did it. And of course, the entrepreneur mind of there's still more is inside of me. And this is just the beginning. And I'm so excited to share everything behind the scenes with you all, because there's so many of us that, there's just so much to it and it blocks us. Because there's so much going on. We're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to do it. And I felt that for years. And to finally be on the other side, because I wasn't an overnight success. It was 6 years of one, and then transitioning to online space. And it took me 3 years, y'all. 3 years. So that struggle, that thing, it's like right on the other side of all the stuff is getting very fucking intentional. Very, very intentional. Focus on the 5 key areas that I just mentioned and everything will change. Stop doing all the other things. It's blocking you. You're chasing your tail because you're chasing your tail. Be the leader. Be convicted. Have the right energy and watch everything change. I'd be so happy to support you on this. Like I said, we have Boulder Branding Academy. I have certain audits right now. I have content audits. I have branding audits. We have the funnel machine, like one-on-one opportunities, wherever you're at. Like if you are just looking at, okay, I just need to focus on my content and messaging, message me content audit. If you are looking on creating an actual funnel, so we're going to go from freebie to landing pages to tripwires to really setting your stuff up in place, whether that's to book more appointments, whether that's to get them into a freebie, whether that's, getting them, your whole sales process and to sell them into a program. We'll set that all up. That's going to be about 3 months. Or if you want everything, I have a few spots open for 6 months containers where you're just focusing on freaking everything. You get access to Boulder Branding Academy. Or if you're like, I just want a fucking dope ass community to keep me accountable. I need the know-how. Like it's not just mindset work. Like I am such a Google Doc. Here's the strategy. Here's the copy and paste. Here's pulling out your genius on top of strategy type of person. Like think of me like your COO. That is what we're doing inside of Boulder Branding Academy. And so if that is you, whether that's, we have a spectrum of things. Just all you have to do is lead yourself to the conversation and message me on Instagram. So like I said, my Instagram is it's Laura Patricia Martin, ITS, Laura Patricia Martin. Just message me because this year gets to be great. Like the year's not over, babe. It's not over. It gets to be absolutely extraordinary and you can make more money than you ever even knew possible, especially in the last half of the year. Or the last quarter of the year because it's when most people are spending money, honestly. And set yourself up for the success next year. Right? What you're doing right now sets you up for next year. So I love you so freaking much. Share this with someone. If this landed on your heart and you're like, you need to hear this fast talking woman, share this with them. And then it would mean the most if you wrote us a review. So thank you. I love you. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.